Hello, my name is Robert Russell, and I will be giving my informative speech today, and the title of my speech is How Automobile Brakes Work. Okay, we all know by pushing down on the brake pedal, it slows our car to a stop. But how does this happen? That is a quote from howstuffworks.com. When I am finished with this speech, I hope you have a better understanding of how automobile brakes work. First of all, let me tell you that I'm not a certified mechanic, but from the schooling in auto mechanics that I've had and the experience in changing brakes, I feel that I am confident enough to inform you how automobile brakes work. Here in this slide, we see a brake system components diagram, and I want to point out the components that I'll be talking about today: the pedal, the master cylinder, the disc brakes, the brake lines, the emergency brake, and the drums. They're the brake assembly. I want to draw your attention to the first component in your brake system is the pedal. And when we talk about the brake system, a lot of the times the extent of people's knowledge is the brake pedal, and that's as far as it goes. And that's why I feel it is important for me to inform you how automobile brakes work. Because let's face it, when it comes time to repairing our brakes or anything else on our car, today is expensive. So when it comes time to repair the brakes or anything else, we have a better understanding of what we're repairing. We have a better when it comes time to paying the repair bill, we will fare much better. So when I push on the brake pedal, the first point of action that's going to take place is here in the master cylinder. The master cylinder is where the fluid is compressed, and when the fluid is compressed, it has a sense of displacement, just like if you was to squeeze a water balloon. That water has to go somewhere. Same thing if you push on the brake pedal. It compresses the brake fluid here in the master cylinder, and then it proceeds on down to the rest of the brake assembly. Looking here at this slide gives us a cutaway of the master cylinder, and you can see here in the push rod here that is pushing on the primary piston, where it comes into the master cylinder, it compresses that brake fluid, where it travels out here in the blue lines, which are your brake lines, on down to the brake system. Looking at this looking here, the brake fluid will travel to the disc brakes, which is located here on the front of the automobile, which is where we have about 90% of your braking, and that is a quote from howstuffworks.com. Also, when we look here at this diagram, this is the main components of the disc brakes. When you compress that brake fluid, it travels down this blue line here, which is your brake lines again, into this green area, which is considered the caliper, which saddles over the rotor. And you see there a red piston there. When that fluid comes in and gets compressed behind that piston, it forces these pads, which is in the dark blue, your brake pads, up against your rotor, and this is where you get the stopping of your vehicle. Now, your automobile, when it travels down the road, it creates a certain amount of kinetic energy. And this kinetic energy has to be removed by your brakes in order for your car to stop. Another quote from howstuffworks.com. So how does your brakes do this? Each time you stop your car, your brakes convert this kinetic energy to heat. And the heat generated by the friction from when these disc pads here compress up against the rotor, and this is another quote from howstuffworks.com. And this is where you get the stopping of your automobile. If you were to take your wheel off the front of your vehicle, this is the braking assembly that you would see. This is the disc brakes on the front of your car. And it points out in this diagram the vents. The vents are there to keep that rotor cooled so it don't it doesn't create cracks in it, and then you would have a complete brake failure. Also in this diagram you see the top of the rotor where it has an inspection opening. This inspection opening is here to inspect your brake pads, and in this diagram it calls them friction material. These brake pads here, if they're at 1/4 of an inch, you're okay. But if it gets down to 1/8 of an inch, then it's time to replace your brake pads. Here we see a diagram of the disc brake pads. The disc braking system is the best braking system today. Not only are they used in cars and trucks, but they're also used in larger vehicles like trains and airplanes. Now, if you were to check these out on an automobile, you would only see 2 pads per wheel. Now, they're made up of a couple of different materials. They have a metal type material, which they call it semi-metallic. And then also another one that's a little bit more expensive today is the ceramic material. Earlier vehicles, the material that they used was an asbestos. Now, it was a good material for displacing heat, and it was a good material for also keeping the noise down. You definitely don't want a noisy brake to where it's screeching all the time. Also, the main reason they did away with asbestos because, of course, was health issues, and they outlawed that. And that was a source of information taken from FamilyCar.com. There are many brake pads available, but when you go to pick out the quality equipment for your vehicle, you need a brake pad that's going to create the least amount of brake dust. If you ever look at your wheel on the front of your vehicle, you will see that if you got a low quality of brake pads, you're going to see a lot of brake dust on that wheel. Also, you don't want a brake pad that's going to create noise. And the harder the material, that brake pad is going to last a lot longer. And that's why ceramic is probably one of the better pads out there right now. Now, they're more expensive, but they last longer. A semi-metallic pad today is probably about $45 on some vehicles, depending on what kind of vehicle you got. And also, the ceramic would be more expensive, and it would probably be about $65. Now, also, you see on this diagram the wear indicator. This wear indicator here is to tell you when it's time to replace your brake pad. It will screech or squeal or make a noise when you're not pushing on the brake pedal. That's why it's designed to tell you when it's time to change your brake pads. Now, another type of braking system is the drum brakes, and as you can see, they're on the rear of the vehicle. If you were to take your wheel off, this is what it would look like. You have a drum over your brake shoes. Now, here in this picture is a breakdown of the drum brakes. You have the shoes there, which is type of a curved brake shoe, unlike the disc pads. Also, here you have the drum that goes over it. Now, it is noted that the disc brakes are the better braking system, but they haven't done away with the drum brakes because they're cheaper, and also you have the emergency brake there that is housed in there. Now, in closing, as we look at a complete diagram from sundevilauto.com, you can see the components of your braking system. You have, of course, the master cylinder where the fluid is compressed from. You have the brake lines. You have the front brakes, which is the disc brake assembly. And then also on the back you have the drum brakes. Now, I hope from my informative speech here, you have a better understanding of your brake system and how it works. So the next time you go out to pick out the best equipment for your vehicle, you will be able to spend your money more effectively. Thank you.